Shalom, once again, we are with you with two guests, Mr. Chaman Ara and Mr. Saginian from Chicago and Los Angeles in Iranian Judaica think tank. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Whatever that you're asking right now, it's a point of 70 years of the Independence Day that we are right now celebrating. And also 51 years of the reunited of the West and East Jerusalem. And besides that, also we have the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. Whatever they ask from you, what's the reason after 70 years in the region that Israel, stand on the ashes of the Auschwitz and became the superpower in the region? And what happened to Arab countries in 70 years? They had all the petrodollars, they had money, they had whatever that they wanted, the capital as well, the resources that they had. What happened that Jewish people could have with the political culture gonna have these civilized and only democracy in the Middle East, and the Arab and also the Palestinians couldn't do that during the 70 years. And you can find in on the same day that they rename it Yom al Nakba, that disaster day. One side they're celebrating the Independence Day that was declared by the United Nations as well for the Palestinians, but they're still at the 70 years ago with their own keys of the houses and shouting and screaming and stones and fire and so on. How we can elaborate these proposals in the way that understand is that because of the political culture of these countries or other things. Mr. Saginian, what's your opinion, sir?
Basically, it goes back to the point that you just mentioned about culture. What is culture? Culture in general is an accumulated knowledge and experiences and everything that the nation has that forms the culture of the nation. In order to look at the abilities and disabilities of Arabs as compared to the Jewish, let's look at very short and brief view at the Arab history, going long before Muhammad and coming to Muhammad and this way. All the way through until Muhammad, all Arabs did was fight with each other, rob each other, and kill each other. Nothing else. If it was not so, Muhammad would not create two specific times during the year. In those days, you may not kill each other. There was a reason why they were doing, therefore Muhammad stopped it. Money does not create culture. You can give as much money as you please. You can take a donkey and fill it up with books. It does not mean that the donkey understood what there is in the books. Donkey is donkey. That's an old Persian saying. Arabs may have money, petrol money, not the money that they created. Petroleum came out of the ground and the buyers bought it and paid for it. But that does not mean that it created culture for the Arabs. Arab culture is the same thing that they had. On the other hand, looking at the Jewish culture, from the old times, 2,000-3,000 years ago, in Jewish family, it is the way of family living that they put everything into discussion in the family. All day long, they practice it. For that basic reasons, most of the basic and most important lawyers in the world are Jewish lawyers because they have been trained as such, at home from the day that they were born until they come adult. Jews have got old culture, which is all done and finished to make a nation, a cohesive, coherent nation, while Arabs don't have. For that reason, Arabs cannot unite. Arabs still have their old culture of stealing from each other and killing each other. With all Arabs get together united, they could not, in the 3 major wars that they had with Israel, they were beaten by Israel. One small Israel beat all of them because they don't have the culture. That's the basic reason. The culture is old culture. The Arabic culture is kill and steal. The Jewish culture is get together and become rich.
It doesn't mean that the culture is based on the religion and the separation between state and church, or does it mean that is it possible that you're going to have one out of the 56 countries, Islamic countries, and 22 Arab countries going to have also democracy in this region besides Israel? Mr. Chaman Ara, what do you think about it?
It has nothing to do with religion because the Arabic culture of killing and stealing was there before Muhammad, before Islam came to be. It is part of their basic culture.
I understand, but
It's not changing.
whatever they're asking is not essential. It's going to say that Arabs it's like that and do generalization instead of that. They're going to say why it's like that and how they can make the reforms and that Abdul Afghani Jamaluddin Asad Abadi and they say also Rashid Reda did wanted the Islamic reformists that they wanted to make the reforms in Islam.
I do not think that Islam can be reformed as long as the entire Quran that is being referred to stays the way it is. Because they can refer to any part of the Quran as undivisible and use it to do whatever they want to do. In order to do whatever you said, Quran has to be divided from each other. The old Quran or the Muhammad's Quran, Muhammad's verses from the rest of it, which are Madani verses. They have to be separated and it has to be accepted by everybody. Now, it can be looked at it from different points of view as to how to do. Mr. Chaman Ara does it in a different way. I do it in a different way, but both of us refer to exactly the same problem, that they have to be separated. But more important than that, religion has to be put away from the government. Religion should not be part of the government because the minute you put religion into government cannot function anymore.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saginian. And once again, asking Mr. Chaman Ara, what do you think about whatever that separation between church and state that we can find in Islam? Is it possible that you can have any reforms like Islamic reformists that we have, Rashid Reza, Abdul, and Jamaluddin Asad Abadi, that they want to have that? Or it's not possible because the essential is to think that Arabs they cannot be reformed and so on. And Edward Said is against that, as we understand in 1980s. It's in the Eastern culture and by his book Orientalist that he wrote it. He wanted to say it's not acceptable as you as European oriented the point of view that you watch and see the Islam and Arabs that they cannot be reformed and they're the same that they were 1400 years ago. What do you think, sir, Mr. Chaman Ara, in this field that Mr. Saginian right now he spoke?
If I try to put this question on this category, I might be accused of nationalism. Therefore, I give you another example. Equivalent to the birth of Israel, Pakistan was created. And that's what I mentioned in my book, 2020, The Fall of Islamic State. I just get out of the Arab-Israeli and Iranian conflict, and I concentrate on India. 70 years ago, they were one nation, and the Pakistanis and the Indian are the same people with the same culture for thousands of years. And as a matter of fact, the center of the Indian civilization is in the Sand River, which is now in Pakistan. Therefore, if you want to know the true Indian, they are in Pakistan, you know. But what happened? 70 years ago, Israel created, Pakistan created. Now, after 70 years, you have two nations, which is called India, and you have got Pakistan. Why? Why? Even if I don't answer the question, you will come back to the question that because Pakistan is the first Islamic state, the first government in the world which chose to be Islamic state of Pakistan. And that is going back to what Mr. Saginian just suggested. As soon as the religion come into the government, then the whole thing goes to the wrong way. Therefore, to answer your question, we have to do something about religion in the Middle East. And you cannot have a stable and happy countries in Middle East unless you revitalize and study Islam. And of course, both of us, I wrote Quran Chronicle for Quran Rastin in Persian. And Mr. Saginian did the same thing as I did. He separated those two, but I separate them chronically. For 13 years, Prophet Muhammad was under the influence of Khadija, the Jewish lady, or his wife, and Waraqah, the cousin of Khadija. And he wrote the Makki, but chronically. You have to read it chronically, and you will see this 13 years that the book of Quran was written was so fantastic, unbelievably. It was even softer than what Jesus Christ was saying. And then all of a sudden, when he goes to Medina, under the influence of Salman, the Persian, who ran away. Of course, Salman was a Mazdaki. Mazdaki is one of the oldest communism. We Iran invented communism, then that's Mazdaki. And he was under the influence of Salman, and he wrote the Madani verses. But of course, you have to read it chronically. Then you see what happened during that 10 years after he left. And then one of the reasons that after Prophet Muhammad, that 10 years after him, they decided to mix Quran so that they could interpret whatever way they like, was because Salman found out that he cannot govern Iran with this Quran, because Salman cheated Iranian. He sent the Makki verses. Of course, he had no option, because as soon as he met Prophet Muhammad, he had the Makki verses in his hand. So he sent those Makki verses to Iran, and the Iranian who were really fed up from the Zoroastrian priest, because they were governing actually in Iran. So they said, oh, what a nice book, and this is a nice religion. But when Iran was conquered, in Tisfun, actually, the capital of Iran, the scholar came back to Salman and said, what the hell is this? You send us this Makki verses. Now, This Madani verses. So these two don't match each other. If you send this one, what about this one? Then Salman realized that he cannot govern Iran with this book. Therefore, he came back and with consulting Ali, Omar, and Osman, they said, well, the only solution is we mix them together. So the trick was to mix them together the way that Armin just said, that whenever you want to interpret Quran the way you like, cherry picking, I should say, you pick up that verse. You want to say, well, it's all fighting. No. It's all Ar-Rahman. It's all, you cherry pick and you pick up your thing. This is it. So I am looking for the solution. I don't want to go back what happened to Pakistan, what happened to 1,000 years ago. What is a solution for the future? Is to just renew Islam by reading Quran Chronicle and teach to our children that this is Quran and these two books are different. Makki and Madani are different. And then have a constitution, have a government which the religion is separated from the government. If we do that, then we can have a peaceful Middle East. Otherwise, this will continue because this is the best way of selling arms to the Middle East, the conflict.
So once again, whatever that's right now speaking, thank you for joining us to this think tank, as we say, Iranian Judaica think tank. The point is that if we were looking for democracy in Middle East, we have to first of all think about the separation between church and state in Middle East, and reviewing once again the Quran and Hadith and Sirat al-Nabi, and so to understand what the sources that's going to be based on it, the democracy. And democracy, it means the dignity of the humanity. The question is that how you can do that. 56, 54, 56 Islamic countries that we have, even none of them, just even one, they're not democratic countries, and 22 states that they were Arab states, none of them, maybe Tunisia, they're on the way to going to be a democracy. But the point is that whenever they're speaking about the prejudice, whenever they're speaking about the holy books that are coming from the skies, how you can imagine that you're going to have the separation between state and church in Middle East based on the Islamic solution? You're going to have political culture. You're going to have democracy in these countries. Mr. Saginian, as a researcher, that he already wrote a few books, and also Mr. Chaman Ara, we're right now in the think tank and asking these two personals what they think. Mr. Saginian from Chicago, yes.
You pointed a brand new problem, which we haven't discussed before. And that problem is this: where do those verses come from? According to the Quran, all the verses came from Allah through Gabriel to Muhammad. Now, if we take it that, therefore Allah, as they talk, Allah has split personality, two different persons, two different Allahs. One of them is a Allah, all benevolent, all merciful. The other one is all Qahhar and all killer. It cannot be. If we have a sick Allah, we have a sick society, because they are following his rules. Let's bypass that problem, because that problem, if we start that problem, we are going to have a huge, big war in our hands. Everybody is going to be up in arms, and There is no judge in the middle because judge right now is asleep. Let's go back to the basic problem that we have in hand over here right now. The only way we can, humanly possible way to do, will be to come up with a constitution that puts the religion out of the government and have a constitution that defines what a government is and what a government can do. Then again, if we are going to talk about democracy, democracy basically the meaning of the word democracy, demo, gracia, Greek words, demo, people, gracia, government, government of the people. Or according to the American, government of the people, for the people, by the people. If we are going to have peace, we have to have everybody abide by the law as the laws exist or whatever we put, because that law does not come from Allah or from somewhere else. We have to create it. And it has to be workable with the constitution and with the culture of the people. If somebody has got in its culture that if you want it, you can kill, you can steal, you can have as many wives as you please, you can sell your children, you cannot have any constitution that backs that kind of an activity. Constitution has to be totally separate, a pure constitution like United States. Why I say United States, basically I did that study also. The very first real true written constitution was Constitution of United States, which took very many thoughts from very many people who were writing before them. But none of those were in the form of constitution. But as far as the format of a constitution is concerned, is the American Constitution. From there on, it was elected, copied with different people. But a constitution has to be a workable constitution, but we cannot take a constitution of the United States and have it as a constitution for Iran. It cannot work. Iranian constitution or Israeli constitution has to be a constitution that can work with the culture of the people. Otherwise, it will not work. However, again, basic goes to the point that you cannot have a constitution written on the basis of a religion. It cannot be done. Because then again, you have lost everything. That's my end point.
Okay, Mr. Chaman Ara, what do you think about whatever that he already said, Mr. Saginian, regarding separation between church and state in Islamic statehood that's emerging maybe a democracy in the Middle East? What do you think, sir?
Well, of course, in detail, I have gone through all of these things that Mr. Saginian explained in the book 2020, and the conclusion of that book was a constitution. Now, again, rather than going all these lectures, I would like to give you another example, this time Iraq. Just the day before yesterday, there was, or 3 days or 4 days ago, there was an election there. And of course, we know that Iraq was really a poor country. This was the center of the civilization, old civilization, and all of those things. What happened to Iraq is really breaks anybody's heart, you know. But anyway, they had a fight to have a constitution, but because they did not prepare the constitution before the fall of the Saddam Hussein, therefore, whomever comes into power, which is the religious people, they came, and now Iraq has a relatively religious constitution. It's not separated. And now people are celebrating. Now Muqtada Sadr is in majority. What's the difference? Just because they are happy because Muqtada Sadr might be anti-Iran and pro-Saudi Arabia because he met Prince Salman just a few weeks ago before the election. Now Mr. Alawi will come into power. Now, I don't know what will happen, but it doesn't make any difference. If the Constitution has any touch, even in one item, to have any touch of the religion, it's open up everything for disaster. Therefore, the Iraq Constitution, because of its religious that they have, religion is in control of the Iraq. Therefore, the election doesn't make any difference. This time now, we might have a government pro-Saudi Arabia. And now, whether Saudi Arabia government and the ideology is better than Iranian Shia ideology, time will tell you. Therefore, to make one simple conclusion, as I have always made that conclusion in every book I have written, every speech I have made, any discussion I have made, the only solution and the salvation of the Middle East, and especially Iran, which I am from, is to have a constitution with separation of religion from the government. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Saginian, in brief, how you can give us a conclusion regarding democracy in the Middle East and regarding Iran? What's going to happen in Islamic Republic that already we have constitution, but in practice there is Islamic constitution based on its religion. Just in a few words, sir.
Very basically, it comes to several very short statements. Item number one, we have to educate our people about human dignity, that each person is a free person, and freedom starts from the mind, total freedom. Second, we have to educate people. Educate not in the sense of having them memorize things, but having them understand things. Because memorization is taking somebody else's words and repeating it. And even if you had grades A, you haven't understood a blooming thing. You have repeated somebody else's words. You have to understand. In order to understand why, because you cannot make a decision without understanding. If you decide without understanding, you are going totally wrong way. So it comes down to basically three things: education, motivation, and enactment or implementation. You have to educate, you have to motivate them, and put them to action. All those three. Without those three, nothing will work.
Thank you very much for Mr. Saginian from Los Angeles and Mr. Chaman Ara from Chicago, that being with us in these Iranian Judaism think tank in Jerusalem. Thank you very much, sir. For the next session, we're going to have democracy in the Middle East. And once again, thanks for watching this program. And to the next session, be with us. Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us, sir.
Bye.
Thank you.